Hello, everybody. We are going live for Tuesday Talks. Today we have an amazing person called James Wylie. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. If not, apologies. I'm sure you will correct me when you join. Now, James is a experienced certified professional coach and certified mastermind executive coach. James is assisting everybody in discovering or rediscovering so yourself. The main joy in this professional is simply taking and helping everybody out there to achieve self-actualization, to experience that epiphany, to make your life more fulfilling. That's what is written on his website. So I might have not said it correctly, but I'm sure James will fill us in. I can see you there, James. Let me invite you over.
How's that?
Hi, James. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you today, Sharon?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much for taking the time out for Tuesday Talks. Um,
My
I've
pleasure.
done a I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand onto that and do it a bit more justice. So let us know who you are and what do you do. And the biggest question that will also start this conversation will be, why do you do it, James?
Absolutely. First of all, you did pronounce my name correctly, and so thank you for that. In there. But okay, yeah. My background. Well, first of all, it's just an interesting story. I mean, people are looking at me and they say, "Oh, James Wylie. He looks Asian. So how do you have a last name like Wiley? In there, which is kind of more English, kind of like Anglo type of name, and which is a common question that I ask a lot of times, and been asked a lot of times, and the reason is because actually I'm a full-blooded, 100% pedigree Korean. I was born in New York. Both my parents were full-blooded, Koreans. My father was a member of the U.S. Army, and his Korean name was actually Sun Young Lee. And if you look at the initials, was S.Y. Lee. And so the story goes that on roll call from the Army, the sergeant would call out Wiley. And I think maybe there was another Lee in the outfit or whatever. And so my father decided to adopt that name. And he changed the spelling, and that's how he came up with Wiley in there. But, for those who are thinking that I'm a fake Asian, I'm pure blood here. So I'm good.
Oh
So
wow,
yeah.
that's an amazing and interesting story. I love that. Thank you for sharing this.
No problem. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people get a kick out of that. Yeah. So, my story, yeah. Like I said, I was born in New York. I was born and raised there, lived there for about 18 years, and then went off to college. And then I became a chemical engineer, my undergraduate degree, got a bachelor's there. And the reason I became an engineer actually is because, when I was growing up, one of the things I always liked to do was play with models. And I always had sort of a kind of a building mindset when I was growing. So I like to put things together, had model boats, model airplanes, and all that. So that kind of carried me over in my life, as I was growing up. So obviously, I became a chemical engineer, and then I decided that, hey, yeah, I like to build. And then I became a project engineer. So I actually got into the mode of really building an actual chemical plant, which was like, wow, in there. And that was a lot of fun. But one of the aspects when you're a project engineer is that one of the things you have to go through is you actually build a small scale model of the chemical plant. And the reason they do that, obviously, is because it's a very visual type of representation of the planet. And as you're building this thing, and you see this all the time in, like, whenever they have model buildings, or they put like a plant city in the future, you see the actual models in there. And they do that so that you can actually get a true 3D perspective in there. So that was the fun part of this. I actually saw that model, and we actually built the plan to the way the model had depicted it, and it was a lot of fun in there. So that was kind of my extension of my love for modeling. And then later on in my engineering career, I got involved with kind of like process troubleshooting. And there, I actually got involved with mathematical modeling of the plant, of the process in there. So it's able to sit there and actually predict how the plant will operate. So I was involved with that in there. And again, it comes back to my childhood days of playing around with models and all this in there. So why am I even explaining all this in there? It's because uh, eventually, of course, just to continue with the story, and I'll get back to the modeling thing, but to continue with my story, I ended up getting an MBA. I ended up getting into marketing. I got into sales. I became a global key account manager. And finally, I retired 2 years ago from my company after working in the chemical industry for 40 years in there. And then about maybe 10 years ago, I got involved with, doing some teaching at a university. So I taught that. I taught actually marketing at an undergraduate level, and I did that part-time. And then I decided I also wanted to write a book. So I decided to write a book in there. And then I decided, well, hey, coaching, that's great. I would love to do it because I did a lot of mentoring when with my company in there. And I love working with people, especially young people coming up, and I wanted to mentor them. And, that gave me a lot of joy in there. So I decided that, I wanted to do that. Well, about 6, 7 years ago, obviously doing all this stuff, teaching, writing a book, coaching, and then doing my full-time job, something had to give, and I said, yeah, I'm just killing myself. So I ended up kind of quitting coaching for a while in there. So, and decided, yeah, that's going to be put on the back burner until I retire. Okay. So getting back to the modeling aspect, the book that I wrote is called Life Imitates Science, kind of a takeoff to Life Imitates Art. Okay. It's a book that I had published on Amazon, and it's available on Kindle, and basically what I did was, the whole modeling perspective, I decided that, hey, obviously I had a very scientific background in there. Can we somehow help people through the coaching process visualize using scientific principles as a way for them to gain some perspective? Okay. And when you get down to it, what is coaching really? Life coaching, business coaching, any type of coaching, okay, is to help you gain a perspective as to where you are. And then maybe if you're kind of maybe stuck in this mode, just to help you get out of it in there. And that's really what coaching is all about. So I kind of felt that if you can take, principles of science, like for instance, my first chapter is all about homeostasis. It's very natural for man or woman, I want to be gender neutral here, is that they want to be in their comfort zone. It's natural. We're human beings, why would you not want to be in your comfort zone? Okay. But because of that, you encounter a thing called inertia. So that, you're always going along at the same pace as the way you're going in your life. And then the only way that you're going to kind of break out of this is break the inertia. Okay. So that's the whole modeling concept kind of was born into, or actually evolved into writing this book. And in this book, there are 10 principles that I lay out in there. Okay. So again, that is the reason why, to me, as I go through my coaching practice, I want to kind of lay out that, hey, I want to kind of not pigeonhole you, but maybe kind of frame your current perspective, and kind of base it on some of the scientific principles that I came up with in there. One of them, actually, my last chapter of my book is called Stress. It's funny, my first chapter is about being in your comfort zone, but on my last chapter, we're talking about stress in there, right? And my point being is that stress is not necessarily a bad thing. We all go through it, but the only way that you're really going to be able to move forward with your life is to be able to handle that, right? And one of the examples that I give is that whenever you fabricate a piece of machinery or equipment, what they do is, because it gets exposed to many different types of temperature fluctuations, okay, like a bridge or whatever, what they'll do is they'll take that piece of fabricated steel, put it into a really hot oven, and give it what they call a stress relief, okay? And the stress relief basically says, okay, we heat this thing up, and then we slowly cool it down so that when it's finally finished, when you put it out in the field, it can handle all sorts of environment, okay, in there. And that's sort of like my thinking in that, yeah, you go through stress, that's not a bad thing, all right? It's a matter, okay, how can you handle that? So those are one of the principles that I lay out whenever I coach clients in there, okay? So, and one of the examples I put in my book is that, my daughter, she wanted to learn to play tennis. She wanted to be really good at it. She started out when she was 8 years old. We got her to do a lot of instructions. But I realized too that, instructions are good, drills are good, but you really can't test your game until you really go out there and play against somebody. So I signed up with a whole bunch of tournaments in there. And the first 5 tournaments, she got absolutely killed. And at one point, she was crying about the whole thing, whether she should continue. And I said, no, this is part of the learning process. You hang in there because eventually you're going to get better. She got so much better that she eventually got a scholarship in college. So that, that's an example that I use whenever I go through in terms of how people should deal with stress. Yeah, I mean, there are bad stress moments, sure, absolutely. In there. I'm not trying to mitigate that by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying that how can you channel that, and then be able to move forward with your life, and that's really what I push for. So yeah,
I love this that you shared, and the last part of the stress and channeling it, is I'm in awe of as well because I've not heard it before in terms of how you can use stress as we all go through it, that and as you already elaborated, there's good stress and bad stress, but I think in a way, if you are reframing it, most of
right,
them will become good stress anyway, because with stress comes growth, because you're gonna grow yourself out of that stress, right? You're gonna push yourself, as you shared the story of your daughter, with the tennis. Just when the stress came along, you have to continue. Why stay there, right?
exactly,
Continue, and then
that's right,
you have the choice of, right, leaving it, go back to your comfort zone, or maybe just stay there, go back to your
all right,
sessions of practice, right? Or like, I just keep practicing. One day I'll be ready,
right.
or throw yourself in there and get or come on the other side. It's quite strange, because today I actually came across a writing that I don't read a lot because I have now just audio versions of everything, uh,
Okay.
just 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 to be a bit more time effective for me.
Yeah.
Um, but it was somewhere it just caught my eye, and it's actually said, whatever, if you want to learn swimming, throw yourself at the deep end first. Everybody goes in while they want to learn anything. They tiptoe to it. They test the waters. They want to see how the temperature is. They want to
Right.
see, if I can go further down, can I swim it? And when they see nothing is working, they just come out of it and leave it, right? But if you've been thrown into the deep end, you're gonna the survival mode kicks in. You wanna save yourself, and in that moment, you're gonna learn how you are able to, maybe not swim perfectly, but you know how to balance yourself in that water, and then you will finally will come out of the shallow end, knowing
Correct.
how to do everything that you need to do to come out of that stress moment that you just had. And that just came in my mind when you just shared that story. So wow, thank you very much for sharing this. But so whilst you were doing all this, what was the driver behind it, behind this all, the energy? Obviously you had your highs and lows like everybody, I'm sure. What kept you going at your lowest points? It's similar to
Uh,
where you had to give up or something.
right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say maybe it's my low point, but I think I realized at that moment too that, there's so much I can handle because obviously, you know, uh, especially coaching, because what I found out was as I was going through this process was that I could not effectively coach somebody while I'm worrying about my job, because, and again, I mean, I could literally call somebody from when I'm in Germany or if I'm in Shanghai or whatever in there and try to get prepared for it. Number one, the jet lag just killed me on number one. But number two, it's just that, hey, I didn't properly prepare to, to deal with my clients. So I was shortchanging them. And I just said,
Mm.
no, if I can't do this well, I'm not going to do it at all. Okay. And I didn't say I was going to give up. I'm just saying I'm putting this on the back burner. And again, it's just a matter of just being realistic with myself as to what I can or cannot handle in here. Okay. And in fact, one of my chapters of my book is called Archimedes' Principle. And of course, the whole idea of that is that a body will displace the amount of water that, in terms of the volume that it has in there, okay? And then you will remain afloat depending on the density of the body that's actually floating. So if the density of the body exceeds the density of the water, you're going to sink in there, all right? So think about a container ship, okay, versus a small boat, all right? If
Mm-hmm.
you put the container on a small boat, you just increase its density, boom, it's going to sink. You put it on a large container ship, and then you put it there, not a problem because its density has not decreased at all. And that's what happened with me. I wouldn't say I was a small boat, maybe I was a middle-sized boat, but all of a sudden now I'm starting to take on containers on me, and now I'm feeling the sinking feeling in here, and that's why I said, I got to get rid of some of these containers that's kind of bogging me down here. So that's really what it was. I mean, and that's how I dealt with it. And truthfully, 2 years ago when I retired, I thought about, first of all, I took a year off. I said, do I really want to get back into coaching? So I really had to go through some soul searching about that. And I decided, well, okay, let me think about it. So I did some other stuff, I always wanted to learn how to code, try to learn Python, things like that. So I did a little bit of that. But then I realized too, okay, that's great, but what am I going to do? I'm not going to create a video game. So yeah, I learned the basics, and that was fun. But then I started to realize that, what I really missed was the interaction with people. And I said, I would love to just get back and somehow do that. And then, okay, so well, Jim, stupid, duh, you can get back into coaching, in here. So, and that's what I'm doing. So in the last 9 months in here, I'm trying to get back into the game in here. But interestingly enough, and it's funny because when I coached, or when I did coach a lot of business clients back when, if we talk about a marketing campaign or, trying to increase your business, all right. So the first question I ask is, all right, what is the benefit that you're offering? Or what is the solutions that you're offering, with your product, with your services? And I've come to realize that with my current coaching practice, I haven't fully defined that, So now I'm going through, even for me, as they say, doctors make the worst patients,
Mm-hmm.
coaches, make the worst, coaching clients. And I had to sit back and be realistic. I say, let's look at this and let me see that, what am I doing wrong? Okay. And then I finally started to realize, yeah, I need to tailor this. I need to fix that, and there, I did work with a coach myself, and she was wonderful. And she kind of gave me some really new, fresh perspective. So again, for all those people who are coaches out there, definitely get a coach for yourself. I mean, it does help quite a bit in there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's getting back into the game. Yeah, kind of a pain that you got to go through marketing, self-marketing, self-promotion, and all that. But hey, that's part of the game. That's what I bought into when I got back into it. That's okay. All right, that's just something that you got to learn to live with. It's like if you're going to be a good pro tennis player, you got to go out and practice, right? And even though you hate to do that sometimes, right? But that's the only way you maintain yourself.
Yeah, that's 100%, 100%. If you want to be good at anything, you have to practice. Practice is the key.
Right.
There's a saying, isn't it? Practice makes perfect, but I do disagree a little bit there. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes you better, and then you continue practicing to you get even better and better and better.
Right.
So you are, I mean, I don't know if whoever wants to be perfect, but you're never perfect because you are always learning because there's always somebody out there who is better than you. And I love that you shared that, and how I took that was even coaches need coaches because
Yeah.
yes, there are always pivotal moments or things that we as ourselves don't
Right.
know. And there is somebody else who has done that journey and is able to help us and is there forte. So even coaches need coaches. It's an example of, let's say even, for example, the fitness coach who is teaching you how to be fit
Right.
has a coach themselves to keep
Right.
them fit, right?
Right.
You might not see
Right.
them with them every time, but
That's
they started with another coach who made them fit, and probably it still works on and off with that person that got them fit, and now he's teaching you to be, or she is teaching you to be fit, right?
that is
So
correct.
that's even coaches. I have coaches as well. I love that you shared there. Um, and you've got an amazing journey of an understanding of all these concepts. I think it's just to do with your background of so many projects that you've handled and traveled to all these places. Uh, that I think as an average person,
Uh-huh.
we do not notice. And I love the fact that you elaborate things and make it so easy to understand because you are relating it to an experience that you've already had or an understanding of making it a little bit easier for uh, us to understand as an, like I'll say an average person to know what they're going through. Because I believe 100% that the only time we have blockages or places where or crossroads is only the time when we've reached to a level because only things that we knew has
Uh-huh.
just got us there, right?
Right.
Now there's a point, right? Okay, we need new set of tools, new set of learning processes, new sort of processes, whatever it is. We need something new to now continue going further. I love cars, so I always go back to the cars. It's like car, right? You're driving a car, it has certain amount of fuel or gas, as they call it in States, right? So fuel and gas
Right.
in there. It will
Right.
take
Right.
you to a certain amount of distance, miles, kilometers, right? And after that, you need to refill it. And this
Correct.
is exactly what we are going through as well. Whatever we're learning now will get us to a certain degrees. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with any instructions that tells us that, okay, after 5 years, you need to reset yourself and learn more. So that
That's
will depend
correct.
on that will depend on your journey and how you are progressing. If you're the one who like to enjoy your scenic journey, it takes pit stops and looks at the scenery, looks at it, so it might
Right.
take you a little bit longer. But or
Right.
you're the one who just like, okay, I know this and I'm gonna continue like I am. If I'm going on a long journey, I do not take any stops because I'd rather be at the journey and then enjoy the
Right.
place. If there is something nice and thing, I'll get the people who are with me to notice, like, oh, look at these places, because I am being observant of what's happening around me. So that's how my journey would be. So, but I want to get to the destination and then see what more I need to now enjoy this journey, or do I need some more tools to continue the journey? Because obviously we do not know what the end destination is. We have a goal to
Right.
reach one,
Right.
right? But by the time we reached near, we have another destination that we would love to reach by that time, right? So we
That's
are
correct.
always evolving. So in that car, we are always driving to a destination. So maybe reach one and then you take a stop and evaluate yourself back again. That's what I was hearing from your conversation that it was coming through to me,
Exactly.
and I love this. So do you think that I heard correct, right?
Oh yeah, no, 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 you're absolutely right. No, that is it. I mean, and that's the way my life has always been. It's always, I take that journey, but then I always say, all right, what's the next journey? And I actually even start to think about that before my current journey is ending in there. So, I'm always trying to look ahead, in here. Maybe that was because I was trained as an engineer, because especially if you're a project engineer, you always have to think about the next step, or even two steps down in here, and that kind of stuck with me. Which is fine. I mean, and that's why my wife and we make a perfect pair, because she doesn't think that way, so I think that way in there, and then we complement. She's very artistic. She's very much now at the moment. Me, I'm kind of like looking down the road in here, in there, and yeah, I mean, it works out. I mean, we've been married for 45 years, so it's great.
Wow, congratulations. I know, exactly. So it's like you're on the driving seat and she's the passenger with you. She's letting you know what's happening now whilst you're driving,
Right.
so it's getting, and you're like, oh, wow, fantastic. I love this. Thank you for keep telling me. Maybe draw the stuff that you're seeing,
Exactly.
as a metaphor. And then we will reach to the destination. But while we're reaching to the destination, we are nearby. let's take a stop here. I think I want
Right.
to actually enjoy this. Oh, you said this. There's a nice waterfall that you just noticed. Right,
Yeah.
let me stop here now, and then I will see how far we need to go more, or
That.
we just stop here for a while. Right, it's your decision, and I love that. Is there anything that you obviously with this wonderful journey that you're on?
Uh-huh.
Um, what's the best thing that you do? Is that something? Well, some people like to call it ritual. Some people like to call it routine.
Uh-huh.
It's all the same for me. So is that something that you follow, which has stuck by, or you're still in the process of finding that? Because a lot of people are still finding that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Do I have a routine or a ritual? No. Um, I have a I have an understanding, I think, of myself in that when I retired, even prior to me retiring, because when you think about it, retirement is sort of like, well, you go along and you work for a company for X amount of years, and then, you got the daily pressures and everything that goes with it. And then all of a sudden that stops, you know, all of a sudden it comes to a screeching halt. And there are valleys, and then there are peaks that you go through when you were working in there. Okay, so that all that emotion you don't necessarily have. And again, getting back to my original premise earlier on that stress is a good thing, and I said that not that I want to put stress on myself, but I want to challenge myself, you know, only because I want to keep my mental capacity always at its peak in here, and I think maybe you can call it fear, but one of the problem or the fears that I had in retirement is that I don't want my mind to go stale. A mind is a muscle, and you need to keep working at, in here. So that's why, I said that, yeah, I mean, coaches trying to get back into this thing is going to be a real challenge, but that's okay. I mean, to me, it's, obviously there's a goal, because I want to build my business up, all right, but it's also the journey. It's just going through this thing, and I think that's a lot of fun. I look at it that way. Okay. Now I'm one of the few people probably are very fortunate that is saying that okay, a lot of people get into coaching is because it's going to be their livelihood. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to be my livelihood, but I'm doing it for another reason. It's because yeah, I want to keep myself sharp. I want to interact with people. I love to work with people, and to me the high would be the client telling me that really appreciate working with you, Jim. You did me wonders. Okay, and that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I look for more for that than that, to actually getting paid. On this thing. And to me, that's why I do this.
Wow, that's actually very rare, and as you said, very few people out there who are out there just to how I put it as to serve uh, and give back. So you're pretty much at a point that you are now giving back.
Yeah,
Uh, because I always think of it when you're in your work environment, all the things you are doing is just because you want to take, right? You're like, right, I'll give you my what can I take from here? What can I take from here? Okay,
right,
business is gonna give me this, give me that. I'll just turn up, obviously, put in my hours, and
right,
then I will get that for that return. Now you are in the phase of okay, I'll just want to give, like what can I give you,
exactly,
whether that is my time, whether that's my wisdom, whether that's my support, and I love that's amazing, right? There's very few people who are out there that have said this, and you're one of the few here now, and it's amazing. So people, if they want to connect with you, they can reach out to you here, I believe. And what's your website? You have a website as well.
Yeah, it's called the epiphanyexperience.com. Okay. It's a long word, I get it, in there, but it's the epiphanyexperience.com in there. Yeah, just pick up my website. I have a couple of surveys you can take on there. In most coaches, you'll see that they have you develop the wheel of life, and I have a couple of those. I have one for, for your life situation. I also have one for business in there. So you can take both of them. They're free, in there. But it's a good way for you to gain your current perspective. And it's basically a snapshot of where you are today. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen, for the
Mm.
rest of your life. But And if when we get into a coaching situation, I can start off by using that. It says, oh, okay, yeah, all right, you need more balance in your life situation in here. What's holding you back, and it's how we start off in there as well. So, yeah,
Awesome.
it's fun. Yeah. No, like I said, I enjoy doing this, and the people that I work with, and again, the whole process, and even this whole Mind Valley thing that you and I connected on earlier on.
Yes.
Again, it's a learning process for us, for me, and I love that.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, as I said earlier, you're always learning. If you th you know, I don't, I should say it here anyway. I mean, if you think you know everything, good on you, because
Right. Yeah.
but there's nobody out there who knows everything, because the let's use the example of technology. The technology in the past 5 years has grown so fast. The expansion that's happened in the technology in the last
Right.
5 years is
Right.
worth actually a decade worth of expansion that's happened. The development that's happened usually is taking them that long time. But
Right.
in the last 5 years, everything has like skyrocketed, right? And
Accelerated. Yeah.
yes, it's accelerated. That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. Accelerated.
Yeah.
That is it's accelerated a decade worth of technology that's has uplifted in there. It's modified. It's there. And for you to be with those things, if you're just seeing that, everything else around us is evolving.
Yes.
And I was in Tallinn for the weekend, and over there they are testing out already driverless buses. you
Ah,
know they are
right.
testing it already, driverless buses, and they were saying, if you come across, don't worry about it, it will stop. So it's not taking any passengers, it's just like going around the town
Right.
and cities on the road practicing. And they already had those drone robots on the floor, so delivering pizzas.
Right.
So it will come to a crossroad, stops, crosses road, and everything. And I was like, wow, you know, it's a different situation here. So imagine now trying to adapt to that, right?
Oh, I know. Oh,
You
yeah.
have to. That's already a big shift in your mindset.
Oh,
So which brings a question to me, because I'm big on mindset as well, because you mentioned it already, because you want to stay sharp and you want to exercise
mhm.
that muscle, because everybody forgets that particular muscle, which is your brain, which is your mind, and don't do anything. They will do everything on the planet Earth, which is available to look good, to be slim, or whatever that is. To
Right.
have whatever they want to project out there. But to do,
Exactly.
how I see it, to do all that, you need to work in here, and
Absolutely.
have once you work in here, everything will take its form, because we have the power with our mind to make anything that we want to make, right? The chair that I'm sitting on, you're sitting on, it was
Right.
someone's
Right. Concept.
creation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
concept or
Exactly.
creation in their mind
Yeah.
first. Like, oh, this is be something nice to sit on.
Yeah.
But, I don't know where they sit on before that, maybe a floor or a rock, right?
Right.
But then somebody like, oh, how about creating a stool? We'll just lift it up.
Sure.
Then,
Yeah.
from that stool, like, you went to a chair and all that, right? But
Right.
it was someone's concept, creation, thought, uh, and then they pursued it and brought it out. And
Got it out.
pretty much doing that, we can use that on our life as well. If you think of yourself as an amazing tennis player, an amazing
Right.
swimmer, whatever that is, yeah, you will
Right.
come through challenges, but that mindset that you've set to yourself, that this is how I should be at the end of this journey,
Exactly.
it will flourish. And
Right.
obviously, you will grow more, but you will see that growth suddenly start happening after you've gone through those challenges. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. The challenges, sure. It just, forces you to get better and better and better. But you got to have the attitude that if you have, down moments, low points, all of a sudden something just didn't work out. You can't let that discourage you. You just got to keep plowing, in there. There's a one of my favorite lines is from the last, well, it's not the last. Well, in the Rocky, the Rocky series, right?
Hmm.
I live near Philadelphia, so we're big on Rocky, right? In there, right? He came out of, the joke is that, the biggest hero in Philadelphia is not even real, in there. So,
So,
which is Rocky Balboa. So in the movie Rocky Balboa, there's a moment in there which really caught my attention. And I said, that is so true. And basically, he's having a conversation with his son. His son is trying to convince him not to go back into the ring and
mm,
fight, you know? And then he says, no, but I want to do that. He says, well, you don't know what you're doing to me, That's because his son was kind of living off his father's fame. And so Rocky looks at his son and he says, look, nobody said life was easy, all right? And, you know, they're gonna push you down. Life's gonna push you down, right? And the secret to winning is that you can hit and you can hit hard, but you got to learn to take a hit. And when you take a hit and you get knocked down, you get back up again and you hit back at them. And that's what winning is all about, you know? And I said, wow, that's a great line. That's a great moment in that movie in there. And I think if we can have that mentality for everybody, I think we'll see a lot more people with better attitudes, with better perspectives as they move forward in there. And it's funny because sometimes when I deal with a client, business client, they're looking at hiring somebody for a particular position, and I said, this one interviewee, he had a great attitude, but his CV wasn't maybe up to snuff. And then I'm looking at another candidate whose CV is just, way out of sight, but I couldn't get the right vibe out of him when I was talking to him. Basically, the question is, who do I hire in there? I said, it's
mm,
easy. You hire the first one. Why? He has the best attitude. All right, so his CV's not up to snuff. People can learn, you know? You can teach him. And if he has the attitude of learning, then that's the guy you want to hire in there, all right? A great example also is Terrell Owens was a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was one of the most talented wide receivers out there in there. All right? Actually got them to the Super Bowl, right? Uh, the following year, he was let go. Why? Because he had a bad attitude. All right. As
mm.
talented as he was, as much as he's really helped the team, but because he was such a poison in the locker room, they had to let him go. All right. So I mean, choices are obvious.
Yeah,
Don't go
yeah.
for the obvious. That's that's how I coach these clients in there. As it turns out, the guy turned out really well. So in there.
That's actually very wonderful that how you've shared this as well. So that it's amazing. It's the options and it's choices. And I do say to everybody that I have also spoken with is, yeah, everybody has choices. When I hear somebody say to me or mention that, oh, I didn't have any choice. Well,
Uh-huh.
you had the choice to decide you didn't have a choice as well, right?
Right.
Because you
Right.
just said I didn't have a choice. How do you know you did not have a choice, right?
Very
You
true.
then
Right.
then did you exhaust every situation that you had with it's so the choice comes from your decision makings,
Right.
what you're deciding, right? That just means you ran out of your decision making skill, pretty
Right.
much. I'm not saying that you didn't have any decision making skills, but you were exhausting it to the point you were like, okay, let me go back to my comfort zone because that was actually better. And that's where you had no choice after that.
That is
Choice, that's
correct.
where the choice is, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that Netflix is bad, yet from time to time I watch it as well. We all need to like de-stress any way that helps you, or distract ourselves somehow. But then it becomes a choice, right? Oh, do you continue watching it all night, or you just
Right.
wind yourself down and then
Right.
get back up and do what you need to do, right? Oh
Right.
no. And some people say, I had no choice, right? So I was so tired, I just started watching Netflix and then continued watching. No, that was your choice. That was not that you didn't have no choice. That was
That's
your
right.
choice, right?
That's right.
So you
Uh,
just have to be authentic to yourself, in terms of
exactly.
be real, what you
Right.
deciding. If nothing wrong with, hanging out with friends, going out, partying, you can do
Right.
all that stuff. The choice
Right.
comes in when it gets time to go home. We need to go home and
You
get
need to
on
go.
what we need to do, what we need to
That
do, right? You
that is
decided
true.
to hang out longer. You decided. It's not like, oh, everybody forced me into it, peer pressure, I had no choice. Well,
Yeah.
peer pressure is always there, but you decided to give into that peer pressure, right? But I'm not
That is
saying,
correct.
I'm
Yeah.
also, I'm not, I'm not saying that there are some people who give into peer pressure, are unable to decide, but it's the case of taking charge of your life. I always say, like, live life by design. And what I've been hearing from you is an amazing design there already, because you're already analytical, you're already 2 steps ahead of what's gonna, thinking of what's gonna happen. And I think it comes from the roles we've taken, because in my role, I am a forecaster. I will forecast what's happening
Right.
to a current project,
Right.
and also forecast if anything goes wrong, what we should be looking at, who we need to contact, right? If the
Right.
project has a 10-year lifespan, I need to start forecasting at 6 months what will happen, half a year, full year, 3 months, quarters, what will happen, if this doesn't go wrong. So I'm also
Right.
forecasting that. And then if a sales team involved in there, so I'm then forecasting or projecting how much they should achieve in that time.
Right.
And then people will have that as a baseline. I'm not saying that will happen 100%, right? But it's a forecast. So, and then we will use that as a baseline, which then comes to my personal life. I'm forecasting my life. So I'm living my life by design. I've designed a blueprint of my life,
Uh-huh.
and I am building that. It's a blueprint. My window's going to be here. My door's going to be here. Electrical
Right.
sockets will go there. Uh,
Right.
but when it comes to doing it, it might not happen 100% that way. But at least I have a foundation for that blueprint that I've created, and I'm building on that foundation. And one day it will be a nice home to live in, right?
A Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Actually, one of the chapters in my book is called the ideal state, and then there's the not so ideal state. Okay. And like one of the things that as a coach, I ask my clients is that, all right, where do you picture whether yourself or your business to be in a couple of years, and they'll say, oh, this or that, and I said, okay, that is your ideal state that you're going to be in about 2 years, or either for you or for your business. Okay. All right. Now, what is preventing you from achieving that state? Okay. And so there's a section in my book called competing reactions. So there's always something that's going in there that prevents it from having you achieve the perfect ideal state. Okay, in there. All right. So that's when we hone in on, all right, well, what are these competing reactions, and how do we deal with that? And then one of the things, we talk about is like buffer. When you put a buffer in, it means that, just to give you an example, what a buffer is that, did you ever try to stream in something on your computer, but it takes so long,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you see that little message come up, buffering in there? Well, that's what it is. The data is coming in so much more than what the computer can handle, that when they try to, the buffer adds as a way to filter it out, to stream it in on a more steadier basis in there. And that's the concept of buffering works with an individual, in that as they're dealing with their whatever distractions, or something that's preventing you from achieving what you have to do, then you put a buffer in there. And I would say that, like, for example, if there's an executive, I say, you have an administrative assistant, right? I say, yeah. So why don't you have this person screen all your calls, or screen whatever requests are being made, and then empower them to put them in the right pecking order for you to deal with. That's a buffer right there. So therefore, that you're not always overwhelmed from every little task that has to pop up that you have to deal with in there. Okay. So pretty much that's how I work with my clients, in terms of trying to say that, all right, you're getting frustrated because you can't get there, but why aren't you getting there? And then let's work on that. Okay. In there. So that's like an example that I have in there.
I love this. I love this, and I will most likely use this as a title of the episode. why aren't you getting there?
Yeah,
Because I think
great.
that's what I am hearing throughout the conversation that we just had is, why aren't you getting there with what's available to you, and we talked about it, what's your challenge? What tools do you now need? Or these tools that you had
Okay,
have got you here now. What tools do you now need to expand and continue going wherever
correct.
that goal is, right? And I love this. Um, we will be ending this shortly now,
Sure.
and thank you very much for such an amazing shares and everything that you've been sharing. Before we end this,
Uh-huh.
what would you like to share with all our viewers currently here now and listeners when this will turn into a podcast?
Well, I certainly hope that whoever is listening in on it, and first of all, by the way, Sajan, thank you very much for inviting me onto this thing. I really appreciate this platform that you allow me to, express myself on. But yeah, for people who are listening, I hope you get a feel for the type of person, or more importantly, the type of coach that I could be, and maybe it maybe give you maybe a different perspective on maybe talk to other coaches, but my perspective is maybe a little different in there, and hopefully maybe that's something that might interest you enough that we can certainly maybe engage sometime down the road in here. Certainly, even if you have a question, like I said before, my website is theepiphanyexperience.com. You can drop me a message. I have my email address on there, and I answer everybody. I mean, it does. I don't have to be paid to answer anything on that one, but don't worry about that in there. Like I said earlier, the joy is in helping people out. That's really my satisfaction in my life. So that's all really that I have to say.
That is so amazing. Right? Thank you very much. Definitely anybody who is watching now or listening later or watching this later as well, you definitely need to connect and follow James, and ask questions. I'm sure you love interacting with everybody, so you'll answer the questions. So ask fire away. You never know if you are, in a pivotal moment and you need that extra tool that you're thinking
Yeah,
what that is. James the man to reach out to that. But as you are called the what was it? The Epiphany
experience.
experience. So
Yeah.
why not leave it with a epiphany moment that people can go away with?
Okay. One of my chapters is called state function. It's called, you could be, you want to reach a certain state. Like I said earlier, the ideal state. The challenge is finding the right path to get to that state. All right. An example, going from New York to Pittsburgh, you can drive, you can fly, you can walk, you could be on the Starship Enterprise and beam up from New York and beam down to Pittsburgh. Many ways to get there, but let's pick the right path for you. Okay? And that's what I want to leave with everybody on that.
Amazing. Thank you very much, James. Everybody who has been watching this or listening to this, if you had any, aha moment or inspirational moment or spark, I'm keen on if you had a spark or, or a thought that occurred in your mind, like, oh, we shouldn't keep that with us or at all. Tag that person or that popped in your mind, or if you had a spark, just share this episode with someone, because we don't know who's woken up or gone to bed thinking of a better day. And if you have that spark, it might ignite that spark in them as well. And that spark is what starts the engine and might start the engine in, or all the light bulb. It's a spark that lights the bulb up first, and then the light has, then they shine. So that's what can be created if you had that spark moment. So be somebody else's spark and share the episode with them. We shouldn't keep this with us, and share the inspiration with others as well if you found yourself inspired. Thank you very much, James, for your
Thank you,
time.
Sujay. Yeah.
And thank you very much, everybody else as well. We will see you next Tuesday again with another amazing person as well. Thank you.
Take care. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye bye.